Okay, the meeting is called back to order at 6:37 PM. Please rise and the clerk will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second that the board approves the May 6, 2025 agenda as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Very loud. Aaliyah said second. Board members, questions or comments? Yeah. All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed. So it is. Yeah. It's our updates, because this one says the budget hearing.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Tonight we have a full agenda. So I just want to warn you that we may feel like we're going to spend the next several hours together, and that may be true. So we're going to begin with board president and superintendent updates.
Okay, so member of the boards of education and the superintendent are aware of concerns from community members regarding an alleged investigation pertaining to a district employee. While the district cannot comment on any specific matters of personnel, it wishes to assure the community that the district takes allegations pertaining to our staff and/or students seriously, and the district will follow appropriate protocol, board policies, and applicable provisions of the education law. The board also wishes to note that it appreciates involvement by community members and the care it has for our school community. Thank you. I will move on to school board responsibilities. I wanted to clarify a few things for the community. So in order to run for a board, you need to be at least 18 years old, and really just you need to live in Penfield, right? So there's not very many other requirements other than residency and that age requirement. So some of the school board responsibilities, a school board member takes an oath of office as locally elected officials to support the state and federal constitutions in the performance of their duties. We need to learn the district's mission, vision, goals, and policies set by previous boards. The board makes decisions based on law, district policies, and regulations set by other entities. And in addition, we are required to develop long-term strategic plans for academic achievement and district sustainability. We also should be attending workshops and seminars on a wide range of school-related topics to enable sound decisions. We listen to concerned citizens as the need arises and direct them to the proper district employee for resolution of their issue. We are not involved in the daily operations of the school district, but we make sure that we receive regular process and progress reports. The school board hires the superintendent as the chief executive officer of the school district, and then the superintendent is responsible for running the day-to-day operations of the district. The superintendent recommends actions for board approval and implements board decisions. So really, the school board hires, and we have one employee, and that employee is the superintendent. The superintendent is then responsible for the day-to-day operations of the school. So we don't go in and really go into a school unless our children attend that school, and then we would deal with the appropriate personnel. So whether it be that child's teacher or administrator. No one on the board or no one member can bind the school board to a particular action. It says persuasion during open discussion and debate is the only way to influence voting on issues before a school board. Boards of educations can act only during publicly convened meetings. A school board is a corporate body and has power only when meeting as a quorum. So what usually happens is the school board is informed of issues, and then we have discussions. And based on that discussion, we then come into the board meeting and then we vote, okay, for approval or really for approval. And so we can approve it or deny it. Says school boards create and revise the district's mission, vision, statements, and goals, as well as the district policies that support them. So we determine what the school's goals are, and then we let Dr. Potter know, and then based on that, she sets action for the district for that school year. School boards annually adopt a school district budget to support the operation of the district, and regardless of our own feelings about an issue, the school board members must support all board decisions. So we may have disagreement while we are in private, but when we come and we vote in front of, or when we vote at the meeting, and after that, we support all decisions, whether it was something that we agreed with or not. I will talk about one more thing. So open meetings law. So the Committee on Open Government oversees and advises on open meetings. The open meetings law describes the official convening to conduct public business. Open meetings law provides the people with the right to listen, witness, and observe the decision-making process. So according to open meetings law, you guys or everyone, the community is able to come and listen to us conduct our board business. But we are not required to have or to listen to public comment because it is a board meeting and it is not a public forum. However, the district does allow public comment because we like to hear from community members, regardless of their position or what they are here to talk about. If you look in board policy, I believe it is policy 1510, it would explain just that, what the board meeting does. Also, if we go back to, because I forgot to mention, if we go back to the board roles and responsibilities, if you look in the board bulletin, because we weren't able to fit all of the board responsibilities, it will have the full document from Monroe County School Boards Association for you to review with what the board responsibilities are.
And those board bulletins are shared after each one of our board meetings. And so please look for that additional information. I'm going to go on to talk a little bit about freedom of information law. And I want to first start by emphasizing the fact that it is an individual's right to request and access district records. So the New York State Freedom of Information Law, known as FOIL, allows members of the public to request access to certain district records subject to legal exemptions. The Penfield Central School District is committed to transparency and compliance with FOIL and is providing the following information with the community regarding the FOIL process. So we've put together an FAQ, and this FAQ is going to support, again, in full transparency, explaining the process for how a FOIL can be requested. It indicates that you would contact the district clerk to make a request. It will answer the other following questions, such as what I can expect after I submit a FOIL request, what records are available and not available under FOIL, and how long does it take to receive a FOIL response. And so Nancy Bradstreet, our communications director, has already placed this FAQ on our district website. If you go to the home page and you hover over community, you can click FOIL requests, and then linked on this page, you will find the FOIL FAQ. So I'd like to also share that this year the district has received a high volume of requests in a short period of time. So additional time has been needed for the district to respond to the requests and review those responses and provide accurate records to those that have made those requests. I wanted to share that this year, since July, we have received a total of 72 FOIL requests. So when I joined the district in 2021-22, that school year we had 21 requests. In the 22-23 school year, we had 39 requests. And in the 23-24 school year, we had 25 requests, totaling 85 requests in the past 3 years. And we know that this school year is not yet over. We have 72 FOIL requests this year alone. And so I wanted to share that when we receive the FOILs, again, it is the law that we would honor and comply with these FOIL requests. And so by no means is the message that we are not accepting FOILs, and we will continue to process them in the same ways that we always have. However, they do require significant time and resources. The resources are human resources and financial resources, because each time we receive a FOIL request, we send those to our legal counsel for them to review and to make sure that they comply with the law. The district does appreciate the community's patience as we will continue to work to fulfill each of the requests in accordance with the legal requirements. You'll also notice here that there are some costs that are associated with the FOILs that we've received because legal counsel does need to review and vet each one of these responses on the district's behalf. And so these costs that you see on the screen are also associated with FOILs and FERPA as it applies. The next thing I wanted to talk about as part of the update is the superintendent's amended employment agreement. So the Committee on Open Government indicates that the superintendent's contract, being a document created and maintained by a public agency, falls under the definition of a public record subject to FOIL. Annually, New York State Education Department asks districts for administrative salary statements. This includes information regarding salary, benefits, and other compensation of the superintendent, as well as members of the superintendent's cabinet. We wanted to share with you that dating back to the time where I was being appointed as superintendent, I had conversations with the board about a 5-year contract. The board said that when we got to the point of my evaluation, that we would discuss and revisit that negotiation item. And my recent amendment to the contract has no financial impact to the district. The main point that was a part of our discussion was the term of extending my contract to that 5-year timeline, which would put the contract agreement through June 30th, 2029. So I wanted to make sure that there was some clarification around the superintendent's employment agreement, as well as this will be public information as it's submitted annually by NYSED. But we wanted to make sure that this information was discussed tonight. I don't know, Dr. Roberts, if there's anything else that we should be adding relative to this point.
No, I think that's good.
Okay. I also wanted to clarify that I also went to the board this past summer after being appointed and had some discussion around my transition. I asked the board if they would support me in accessing the support of a retired superintendent. That superintendent that I asked to advise me had a wonderful, successful superintendency and served in this capacity for 10 years. Our discussions and support for me as I transitioned to this role was really in support of our opening of school as superintendent, reviewing some of the superintendent's files, the systems and structures for managing and supervising a senior cabinet, as well as budget and financing, human resources, curriculum and instruction, and educational services. And so I asked for this support, and as you see here on this slide, the support began July 26th, and the total hours of each of those times that the advisor, that person, that retired superintendent came to Penfield to support me is listed here on this slide. The total cost to the district was $949.50. We had allocated this person $500 a day, and as you can see here, it totaled less than 2 full days as part of that support to me. So I just wanted to make sure that this information was out, and also let the community know that this information is too subject to FOIL if anyone would like to have the specifics. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Roberts as we get ready for our budget hearing.
Okay, good evening. As set by statute, it is now time for the 2025-2026 annual budget hearing of the Penfield Central School District. My name is Emily Roberts, and I am the president of the Penfield Central School District Board of Education. The vote on the budget and for members of the Board of Education is in 2 weeks and not at this meeting. The polls will be open on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, in the high school gym from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The district has continued extending voting hours to make it more convenient for the residents to vote. The notice of annual meeting, budget vote, and election has been duly published according to law in the Daily Record and Rochester Business Journal. Affidavits will be filed with the minutes of the meeting. It is customary, however, to read a summary of the notice. The summary is as follows. Notice is hereby given that the annual vote and election will be held at Penfield High School on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., wherein qualified voters of the district may vote concerning the election of 3 members, 2 members of the Board of Education for 3-year terms, and 1 member for a 2-year term, and 2 budgetary propositions. For the election of 3 members of the Board of Education, Emily Roberts and Nicole Doyley currently hold these seats, and there is 1 vacant seat. The candidates running to fill these seats in ballot order are Dr. Sarah Pace, Dr. Emily Roberts, James Ashby, Nate Chinenko, Dr. Scott Wilson, and Susan Gilbert Collins. The propositions will be further detailed during the budget summary presentation. I have available the complete notice of annual meeting, budget vote, and election as printed in the Daily Record and Rochester Business Journal, and will be pleased to show it to anyone who wishes to see it tonight. Okay.
Welcome to our 2025-26 budget hearing. Tonight we'll review the proposed budget for our next school year. I'll begin with an overview of our budget development process and some of the why of what we do before turning over the budget presentation to Dr. Driffill. So the overview will be shared, 2025-26 proposed appropriations, 2025-26 projected revenues, and the May 20th vote information. Districts begin planning their following year operating budget early in the current school year. Penfield utilizes a decentralized budget process to ensure building and departmental needs are met. Tonight, we are toward the end of the budget development process with our budget hearing, and then the statewide election and board vote is approaching on May 20th. Our budget development process goals and guidelines. Administration and the board develop budget goals and guidelines that align to the board goals of academic achievement, partnership, and fiscal responsibility. Decisions in the budgeting process lean on these principles to guide what our plans are for the following school year. I want to highlight our student achievement with Penfield graduates 96% of the class of 2024 received a Regents diploma, 88% with advanced designation. AP Scholars, 176 Penfield High School students and 2024 graduates were named as AP Scholars. Penfield High School named to the U.S. News and World Report list of best high schools in America. Penfield School District named as one of the best communities for music education. Whole student focus. Music, 97 students selected for all county festivals, 7 for all state conference. Robotics team, Impact Award at the regional competition, qualified for World Championship. DECA team, multiple awards at state competition, 8 students qualified for international competition. And athletics, fall, winter, and spring teams named Scholar Athlete teams. Centering students and investing in programs. I wanted to highlight here, since 2021 and now as we're approaching our 25-26 budget, our district has hired 59 total new positions. As you see here, I've highlighted the places where some of those have really been a significant increase. And one of the things that I'm extremely proud of, and we'll dig in the next several slides, and how we are paying attention to the changes in what our curriculum asks for us to do for our students, as well as state guidance around curriculum and instruction, thinking about the ever changes in our student populations, expansion of our continuum of special education services, and mental health needs for all of our students across the district. So the investment in programs, I want to just reference that 23 special education teachers support the expansion of the integrated co-teaching model across the K-12 continuum. We've hired 6 new ENL teachers to meet the needs of our English language learners. Since 2021, our numbers for our English language learners has more than tripled. We have hired 3 new psychologists since 2021 and 3 new social workers to meet the ever-changing needs of our students and address those mental health needs that they may have. And we have 2.5 teachers to implement the Dream Lab program at the elementary level. Those are those digital science fluency standards. Our new transportation and facilities site. The district has invested a total of $29.5 million for this facility. The infrastructure supporting zero-emission buses has been $1.4 million, and this has included the electrical, bus chargers, labor, design, fees, and permits. And we are nearing the completion of this project with an opening summer of 2025, which we hope to invite the community to an open house. So now I'm going to turn over the rest of the budget presentation to Dr. Driffill.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Potter. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. Thanks for being here, and thanks to those who make the time to watch the recording of this in the next couple weeks before our May 20th budget date. I always like to start off the budget hearing fiscal portion around fiscal standing. So we get a lot of questions every year when people start to pay attention to the budget. How is the district doing financially? And we like to think we're doing a good job. So we post our audits on the website, and we post our reserve plan on the website, and all the discussions that we have at the board level are obviously taped and available online. But these 2 sources come from third parties. So they're outside folks that are objectively monitoring us in a capacity that has little bias. So the first of which is our credit rating. So the issuer of this is Moody's. And our credit rating here at Penfield Central School District is an AA2, which means high quality, low risk standing. So in our last report, it was quoted that Penfield had a strong financial position and low fixed costs, and that AA2 rating is a stronger rating than the median school district, even among some similar wealth profile school districts here locally in Monroe County. The other report that I often look at is the Office of New York State Comptroller's Fiscal Stress Monitoring System. So this has been in place for about a dozen years now. In addition to schools, all schools going through this process, the Comptroller's Office looks at all New York State municipalities, so counties, towns, villages. It's a very comprehensive report. It's available online. You can quickly search for it. They have objective measures around fund balance, cash flow, liquidity, and different financial results. It also looks at environmental information such as like the growth of your tax base, support for school budget, things like that. Once again this year, Penfield Central had no designation on the state monitoring system, and those designations are susceptible to fiscal stress, in moderate fiscal stress, or in severe fiscal stress, or no designation, which again was our classification this year. So two outside data points that we'd like to take a look at. So the first part of the presentation, we're going to look at where the money goes, planned expenditures for next year. Starting here, obviously, is our students and building out from there. So every year on Beds Day, which is the first week of October of the school year, we take a look at what our official enrollment is for the year and already begin at that point planning for the next school year. One of the metrics we use is live births here in Monroe County. You can see the provisional data for 2023 is down to 7,100 live births. That's the lowest it's been since they started tracking this information. But when we look at where we are here in Penfield, we've actually been on an upward trajectory. So the current school year, we have, as of Beds Day, it's a little bit more now. We had 4,658 students. Last school year, we're at 4,614, and next school year, we're projecting to be at 4,711. We are, along this timeline, one of only about 40 districts in the state that have grown at this kind of level. If you're not aware, there's about 700 school districts in New York State. So it puts us really into kind of a unique position, particularly here in Monroe County, when most school districts are seeing declining enrollment. We've also seen some significant demographic changes in our student population over this time. So Dr. Potter mentioned before our growth of English language learners, but we've also seen our economically disadvantaged rate jump from about 10% to 21%. We've seen our classification rate jump from 4 or 5% to 9 or 10%. So we're serving, a different set of needs amongst this growing number. So Dr. Potter mentioned the growth that we're seeing in our staff, and that really is the story of the budget. So the personnel drives school costs. I'm going to get into it in more detail, but like here in Penfield and like other school districts, personnel make up the vast majority of our costs between wages and benefits, roughly about 75% at every school district, give or take a few percent. So we've added 11 new FTEs this school year that weren't budgeted that have already, started working with us. That's 3 teachers, 3 directors, and 4 TAs, along with 1 coordinator. And then we're planning to add an additional 5 to 6 positions that have not been hired yet for the new school year. So that would include 2 additional teachers, both special education at the elementary level, a new TA, and 2 to 3 security workers. Hiring our own security workers allows us to build out that security infrastructure that we're trying to implement in a more cost-effective manner than contracted security. And while we've certainly been able to afford the contracted security, it makes more sense to bring those people in-house so that we have a little bit more, control over what their situation looks like here. So a significant bump in staff for next year. You got 16 or 17 new folks coming in. We're also seeing significant wage increases for our non-instructional staff. So this is particularly our facilities folks, our clerical folks. The labor market in general has stabilized a bit, but competition with the private sector remains. I'm sure you see signs of folks looking to hire and what they're posting, and we need to remain competitive with that while at the same time compensating our employees fairly. We've talked about it throughout the spring and even going back to last December, but we're also seeing significant benefit cost increases in this budget. So under 65 medical premiums were up 14.4% this year. That was significantly higher than we've seen in many years. In addition to the under 65 plans, those over 65 Medicare plans are also significantly increasing due to RX changes that were made in the Inflation Reduction Act. So it's good for the members, good for the retirees, but the plan has to cover more share of the cost. Workers' compensation premiums were up about 20% for next year, and then the ERS, Employee Retirement System, employee contribution rates were increasing about 9% for next year. So we'll get into all of these in a little bit more detail, but these are kind of the high-level narratives or what is driving the budget increase for next year. So I made this table as large as I could. It's a bit of an eye chart, but this is essentially our entire budget in one slide, broken down by all of the main accounting functions, different cost centers in the district. So I just gonna walk through kind of each one at a high level, starting with the Board of Education. You may or may not be aware, but as my annual reminder, Board of Education members are not paid. They're volunteers. The costs associated here are for required training for Board of Education members, the production and recording of these meetings, any conferences board members attend, for the district clerk. It's for required notifications, legal notices. It pays for the election workers at the May meeting, those kind of things. 12, 13, and 14 are for central office. So that is the superintendent's office, that's the business office, and the human resource office, along with the office of the director of communications, and all of the clerical folks that work there, so just under 20 people. That also contains all of the professional services for the district, so legal fees, auditing services. It includes our tax collection process fees, and all of those sort of bid requirements and things that we have to go through. Central services is the operation and maintenance of our plant along with security. So it's all of our facilities group and our security group. So we're seeing a significant investment there amongst staff. Special items, function 19 is for primarily BOCES administrative costs. So as a component district of the Monroe One BOCES, we have to pay our prorated share of the Monroe One BOCES costs. And then additionally in the special items are all the district insurances that we carry. So the property insurance, fire insurance, liability, those kind of things. Instructional administration relates to the Office of Curriculum and Instruction and Office of Educational Services. And this also houses all of the main offices for all 6 of our school buildings. So all the folks that work in those offices, all the clerical principals, assistant principals, all their supplies, materials, training, contractual costs are housed within that 20 function. 21 is primarily the general education function in the district. So aside from benefits, that's the largest share of our costs at just over $32 million. Special programs is special education costs and occupational education costs. So those vocational opportunities for our high school students. That's up significantly next year at a little over $1.5 million. Instructional media is the instructional technology and library programs here in the district. Pupil services are all of those wraparound supports that we have for kids. Dr. Potter mentioned some of the hirings we've made there in the last couple of years. So this includes our counselors, this includes psychologists, nursing services, social workers. The big jump there has been around nursing services, just for our private duty nurse care for medically fragile students. Transportation, self-evident, increasing about $400,000 next year. Excited to move to the new facility come September. It's really coming along well, and we're, as Dr. Potter mentioned, looking to have an open house probably in August. Registration is for our registration office. Benefits are the largest cost share of the district, increasing close to 10% next year, or just over $3.2 million. So this is the pension contributions, not only to ERS and TRS. It includes workers' compensation fees. It includes disability insurance. It includes the medical insurance for the under 65 and over 65 eligible retirees that I mentioned before, dental insurance, and various contractual administrative lines there. Debt service is the prior borrowing that we've done for previous capital projects in prior years. So principal and interest payments that we make, just like we make on a car note or a home mortgage. I'll come back to debt service. Note that it's $2.5 million. We're a district here where we get more back in building aid from the state to pay that debt service, so there's no local share to service that debt. And then interfund transfers go to two different other funds besides the general fund. It goes to the school lunch fund, and it goes to the special aid fund to cover the cost of ESY, which is summer special education services. So our current year budget is $119.6 million, and next year we're at $128.6 million, or just under a 7.5% increase. So another way to slice that pie is by object. That prior table was by function. So this looks at the second layer of spending. So it has wages, contractual costs being all costs that go to outside providers. So that's professional development. It's for any consultant fees. Those are dollars that go to the utility companies, trash companies, things like that, things that we don't do ourselves here. BOCES costs we reviewed in detail back at our March meeting, I believe, or April meeting. It's a significant portion of the budget at 13%. Debt service, as I mentioned before, equipment and materials, $3 million, those big employee benefits and interfund transfers. So again, as I mentioned before, education, it is a people business, and there's no shame in saying that. Great educators make for a great education. So you can see our between wages and benefits, that makes up about a little over 3/4 of our budget, and that's where all the dollars are primarily going in next year's school budget. The other way that we're required to slice the budget is the three-part budget. So it's by administrative component, programmatic component, and capital component. So what I have here on this table is what the current year is for 24-25 in each of those categories, what the prorated share of spending is in the budget, and then what the difference is for next year. So next year, the administrative portion's up about $840,000. The programmatic portion's up a little under $6 million, and the capital portion's up about $2.1 million. As a prorated share of spending, administration is down a sliver, and then capital and program just kind of flip-flop. Last year we had a drop-off in debt service, so capital dropped. This year a little bit of debt service comes back on, so then it just kind of takes that 1% right back. The other thing I like to look at every year is just, so we're not in a vacuum, is looking at just how efficiently we're spending our money. And this certainly isn't an end-all be-all number, because nobody's interested in a race to the bottom here, but it is a metric in terms of just how we balance our effectiveness with our efficiency. So this looks at per learner costs, and it comes directly from the state of New York, their fiscal transparency report. So the latest available information has Penfield Central at $18,306 per student in terms of cost, whereas the county average is $22,500, and the statewide average is up closer to $27,000. So on the spending side, spending is definitely up. It's a larger budget increase than normal. But it is well supported by the available revenue, as we'll get into in a moment. This has been driven by adding staffing and programming. It does preserve all the great things we do at Penfield with the professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, and all of the vast opportunities for extracurricular clubs and interscholastic sports opportunities that our kids have come to enjoy. And the thing that I like to mention is that it also has a margin of safety intact. We've had fall hurricanes where gas prices spike. We've had pandemics where things change. And schools, unlike other municipalities in New York, legally cannot overextend our budget. We don't have contingency lines that we can tap into. So it's a good budget. It's a safe budget. We're going to be able to weather any storm that should come our way next year financially. But I could sleep soundly knowing we're putting this budget in front of the voters. So $128 million, where does all that money come from? How do we pay for all this? There's two primary sources to that question. The real property levy, which contributes about 57% of our revenue, and New York State Education Aid, which contributes about 36% of our revenue. All other revenue makes up about 7%. This pie chart has changed a little bit in the last couple years. So going back to the 2021 school year, the real property levy was closer to 65%, about 2/3 of our budget, and the New York State Education Aid was closer to a quarter, 26, 27%. With the phase-in of the foundation aid formula from the state in the last couple of years, the education aid is ramped up as a portion of our revenue. So because the real property levy is the larger portion, let's cover that first. So this lovely chart, the board has seen many times, and a lot of you are probably familiar with it at this point, but this is what's called the local levy formula, or also called the quote-unquote tax cap. I'm not going to walk through all of the elements here. It's not as egregiously complicated as it looks. Most of our students could do this math pretty easily. But here is what the formula looks like here for us here in Penfield. So you take the current year levy, which is about $70.5 million, and you multiply that by the tax-based growth factor. So that's a number that comes from the New York State Department of Tax and Finance. It accounts for all new permitted growth in the community. So if we were to raise our taxes by 1.36%, essentially everybody else's taxes would stay the same, because all you're doing in that situation is taxing on the new growth. We add in the prior year pilots. Pilots are payments in lieu of taxes. Those are agreements made between new businesses and the county industrial development agencies. So we have 4, I believe, currently. We take out any prior year exclusions, of which we did not have any, and then we multiply it by the allowable growth factor. This is where the tax cap number comes from. The allowable growth factor is measured by CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is inflation. This past year, inflation was once again higher than 2%, but this number in the formula is capped at 2%. So inflation, I think, was closer to 3% last year. We then subtract any pilots for the coming year. That's $186,000, so a bit more than last year. We add in any available carryover. Because we were under our cap last year, this portion of the formula allows us to carry some of that money forward to bring us to a maximum allowable levy of $73,764,170. So what this means is that the budget could go up to this levy amount and still only require 50% of community approval. If we were to break that amount to go over $3.2 million or 4.54%, we would need a supermajority of community approval. This year, as you can see at the bottom, we're not going up to our levy once again. So the actual levy amount is going to be $850,000 or $860,000 less than what the cap is. So it'll be $72.9 million or a 3.33% increase. This is a visual representation of what our levies have been historically since the tax cap era went into effect. So going back to the 2012-13 year, the red is what the tax cap was in that year, and the orange is what the ultimate levy was to support the budget. You can see, for the first 7 or 8 years of this legislation, we were always pretty close to the cap. And then in the last 5 years, we've been significantly under our cap, including 2 years where we had a 0% levy in that 21-22 year and 23-24 year. So what does that mean? So your 3.3% levy, what does that mean for me as a homeowner in the community? So the tax cap is 4.54%. Our levy is 3.33%. And that's kind of where our element of control stops. So then to develop the tax rates, we have to look at town assessments and also the New York State equalization rates to give us our tax rates. So this is a handy infographic that I've utilized many times in the past. So Penfield is a unique school district where we have 6 towns that make up part of our school property, along with 2 different counties. And all of our different towns have a different tax rate because they all have different assessments and therefore they all have different equalization rates. So this scenario here, you have a house in Town A and a house in Town B. And so the purpose of this example is there's one house in Brighton and there's one house in Penfield. Both of the houses on the open market would get $250,000 if you were to list them. One of the houses, the one in Town A, is assessed at $185,000, whereas the house in Town B is assessed at theoretically market value at the $250,000 limit. So what the state does is come in and say, hey, Town A, you are really actually underassessed relative to what we think your market values are. So they change the equalization rate for that town in this example to 74% as opposed to Town B, which has a full equalization rate. So what happens is the artificially enhanced tax rate in Town A makes up for that underassessment. So at the end of the day, both of these houses end up paying the same amount in taxes. One house is assessed at $185,000, paying a town tax rate of 27.03 per $1,000 of assessed value, and the house in Town B is, paying $20 in tax rate. So a $7 difference in tax rate, but it changes for the purposes of that assessment. So what does that look like here in Penfield next year? So the top chart here are the equalization rates, what the actual amounts have been the last 3 years, and then what the tentative amounts are for next school year. Brighton down to 59%, Penfield down to 75%, Perrington 57%, Pittsford 57%, Macedon 77%, Walworth 70%. So Brighton was planning to do a full revaluation this year, but they ultimately paused that process. So they would have gone up to 100% on their equalization, but they're going to be at 59%. You can see Penfield and Macedon are only 3 years removed from our last reassessment, and both of those towns are now down to the mid-70s, indicating that the state thinks both of those towns are about 25% underassessed relative to market value. And then the bottom chart is the spit out of the tax levy, the assessments in those 6 towns, and then the state equalization rates. So the projected tax rate under this budget for next year, Penfield's tax rate would go to $21.34. So it's an increase of 78 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. Perrington would decrease about the same amount, 77 cents per 1,000. Pittsford would increase 98 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. Brighton would decrease 39 cents, Macedon would decrease 51 cents, and Walworth would decrease by $1.31 per $1,000 of assessed value. So the number I always look to here, because all of this is so much noise, is the true value tax rate. So the true value tax rate is what the tax rate would be if all 6 of the towns were 100% equalized to full market value. And in that situation, we'd be going from $17.90 to $16.02. It would be a drop of $1.88 per $1,000 of assessed value, or a little over a 10% drop. This chart shows what our, here at Penfield, historical full value tax rates would have been over the last 16 or so years. So you can see back in 2009, we were at about $24.50. And next year, we're going to be all the way down to 16. So you can see this sort of precipitous drop off here in the last handful of years, which is a factor of 2 things. One, those lower levies than usual, but also the dramatic increases in assessed values, house prices, as the market continues to climb. And then this chart, again, zooming out of Penfield, is the Monroe County tax rate comparison. So you can see where we're projected to be for next year amongst the 20 or so school districts between the west side and the east side. So we're not alone in all of our tax values coming down. Some of these numbers were closer to 30 a couple of years ago. So as all of the housing rates have gone up, the tax rates have come down a bit. So I want to talk a little bit about education aid. Unfortunately, there's just not a ton to talk about. There's been reporting last week that there was a tentative state budget deal in place, which there is, but there has been no official reconciliation, no budget bills passed, no state aid runs given to school districts. They're still negotiating on a couple of little things, even as it pertains to foundation aid formula. There's a budget extender till tomorrow. I know they're working on having some resolution as soon as possible. But this is a unique situation in that we have to not only adopt a budget, but put a budget to the voters without knowing what, a large chunk of our revenue is going to look like. So what we and everybody else in the state is doing is budgeting based on what Governor Hochul's executive budget had back in January, mixed in with the February database update that they make available to school business officials. It has been reported in the state budget that free meals for all New York State students are going to be included next year. So that'd be breakfast and lunch. So that's an exciting development. And it does sound like the bell-to-bell smart device ban is going to be included in the budget. Looks like they have agreement on that. There has been no other reporting on some of the other education-related measures, but as those come up board, we'll make sure you're aware of those. So here is what that state budget looks like for us for next year. So the legislative budget is what we received for the current school year and the executive proposal that we had got back in January. The top line number is really what draws the eye. So the foundation aid increase of nearly 13% is one of the bigger ones in the state. And this is driven by our increasing enrollment. So what we're seeing locally is a lot of school districts getting the minimum, either 2 or 3%, but because we've continued to grow in students, we've been generating more aid. BOCES aid is about flat for next year. If you're not aware, a portion of our BOCES expenditures in the current year, we get back in aid in the following year. Excess cost aid are aids we get for students with disabilities. Again, that's an expense-based aid based on current year expenses, money that we receive in the following year. Instructional materials are grant dollars that we get on a per pupil basis for textbooks, library materials, computer software, and computer hardware. So up about 2%, projecting, aligned with kind of what we're thinking in enrollment. Transportation aid, again, like BOCES, excess cost aid is a expense-based aid where dollars we spend in this current school year, we get back money in next school year. Our transportation aid ratio right now is over 70%. So transportation dollars that go out, every dollar we get back more than 70 cents on the dollar. And then as I mentioned before, building aid. So this is aid that's generated from prior capital projects. It's amortized out over decades. Go back to the debt service we had, this $2.8 million in revenue coming in covers that portion. So a really significant increase next year for state aid, over 10%. I do mention UPK on there. It does come from the state, but it does not fund the general fund budget. It comes through as a separate grant. And here is the balanced budget, looking at those high-level functions of general support, instruction, transportation, and undistributed costs. We talked about local funding and New York State education aid. The other larger portion of our all other revenue is county sales tax. So we're lucky enough here at Penfield that both Monroe County and Wayne County share a portion of their sales tax with school districts. They're one of only a few districts left in the state that do that. So we're really fortunate for that support. We've seen robust sales tax increases, so over 5% growth there again next year. All other revenue, about $2.3 million, and then assigned fund balance decreasing a little bit next year. That's that level of money that we carry over from this current school year into next school year that's designated to reduce taxes. And then I would be remiss to not mention that bottom row where once again we're not utilizing any reserve savings to supplement our revenue with one-shot sort of injections of cash to support the revenue, the budget. So that's the budget information. So some more information about our May 20th upcoming vote. As was mentioned, the vote is on May 20th, third Tuesday in May. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Absentee and early voting ballots are available. If you're not able to make it that day, please contact Clerk Scott to get set up with one of those. You must be at least 18 years old and a Penfield Central School District resident for at least 30 days. As was mentioned, there are 3 ballot propositions this year: the school operating budget, the bus purchase from our bus purchase reserve, which I'll touch a little bit more on in a moment, and the board trustee election, those 6 candidates for those 3 seats beginning on July 1st. So this year's bus purchase is a little larger than usual. So we're looking to buy 11 new buses, 6 large electric, 4 mini style gas, and 1 mini gas that has a wheelchair lift, wheelchair accessibility. So it's an aggregate total cost of $3.5 million. However, because we are a recipient of the New York State Bus Incentive Program NSBIP electric rebate, the actual cost to the reserve will be $2.1 million. After net costing out New York State transportation aid of around 76%, these 11 buses have a local cost of about $567,000. I should mention with the electric buses, the grant we received, the NSBIP funding stacks with New York State transportation aid. So we're actually going to get more back between New York State transportation aid and the grants than the actual buses cost. So we'll be able to put extra money back into reserves to potentially fund future costs. I have said it before, next year, May of 26 is the last year to buy gasoline and diesel buses under the current mandate. So we're not planning to buy any electric buses next year, unless of course we get, another rebate where, it makes sense. There has been discussion around the state about pushing that 2027 mandate back or modifying it, but we still haven't seen anything about what that could look like. So at this point, it would bring us to 8 electric buses, which is about 10% of our fleet relative to an 80 fleet, 80 buses or so. So I think that was it. Turn it back over to you, Dr. Roberts.
Thank you. We now enter into a comment period for the budget hearing. So this comment period is specifically for the information presented today on the budget. If anyone would like to comment or has any questions, please come up to the mic and state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, I will now make a brief closing statement. On behalf of the Board of Education, I am pleased to present the 2025-2026 school budget proposal. This proposal continues the board's commitment to providing our students with an outstanding educational program and our residents with an outstanding value. Overall, our 2025-26 budget proposal is $128,625,535, which represents a 7.47% increase over the current year's budget. This increase includes additional staffing based on student enrollment, contractual wage increases for Penfield employees, and escalating costs for goods and services. Specifically, the proposed budget increase breaks down as follows: 2.5% wages, 2.69% benefits, 2.22% increase in contractual BOCES, debt services, and equipment expenses. On the revenue side, the budget includes a proposed tax levy increase of 3.3%, which is below our state mandated tax cap of 4.54% under the formula. It is important to note that Penfield Central School District has been within the state mandated tax cap since its inception. In addition to the general fund budget, there will be one proposition on the ballot. This proposition is for the purchase of 11 replacement buses, which will be funded through grants and the 2024 bus purchase reserve. Finally, there are 6 candidates for 3 open Board of Education seats up for election at the vote. 2 seats are for 3-year terms and 1 seat is for the remaining 2 years of an unexpired term. Please remember to vote between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Tuesday, May 20th in the Penfield High School gym. The annual budget hearing has ended. Thank you, and we will return to the regular meeting.
Okay. As we return to the regular meeting, we're going to begin now with our special reports. The first special report is a student showcase, and I'd like to invite Principal Marcy Ware and Assistant Principal Eric Troggett from Indian Landing Elementary School.
Good evening. We're so happy to be here with you tonight. At Indian Landing, you're going to hear the word partner is a big part of everything we do. It comes up a lot, and you're going to hear about it. As part of our school climate plans for this year, we started our principals advocacy group known as Principals Partners, tying in that idea of partner. And we have been meeting at the beginning of the year. 4th and 5th grade students were able to apply to be part of our Principals Partner group. They had to fill out an application, talk about why they wanted to be part of this group. And since October, we have met with them at least 2 times every month for about an hour during their lunch recess break. They were very excited to come and present to you. We started preparing our presentations back in February, and we did our little pivot, and they've created a video to share with you this evening. So as part of getting ready for tonight, they did go to every single classroom, all 28 classrooms, to talk to students. They came up with questions they wanted to ask. So they went from kindergarten through 5th grade, asking, what does Indian Landing mean to you? What do you love about Indian Landing? What's important to you about Indian Landing? And then Eric and I worked with them to brainstorm what we wanted. They had a million things they wanted to tell you. They wanted to talk about our mural, which we said, well, we've already talked to them about our mural. So we narrowed it down, and they really wanted to talk to you about what it is to be a partner at Indian Landing and what makes that special and a special part of being part of our Indian Landing community. Students wrote the scripts, planned the scripts, practiced them, and then Mr. Troggett, he is a man of many, many talents, but one of his primary talents is he's way better at technology than me. So I'll let him talk about what he did with the students to create the video that you're about to see.
Awesome. So we filmed all the students after they had written their scripts, and we went through various settings throughout the school. As the students read the scripts, we talked about what kind of visuals they wanted to see. So, as we're putting the video together, like what parts of our school life should they see along with what they're hearing from you? They picked the settings, the videos that we used. We showed them the video, asked for their feedback in regards to what they saw, and they just, besides the fact that they said that seeing themselves was cringy, they enjoyed being able to share, their work with you. So we hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Eric White. I'm a 4th grader at Indian Landing Elementary.
Hi, my name is Everett Barb, and I'm a 4th grader at Indian Landing Elementary. We are part of Principals Partners.
And we are happy for you to see this video.
Today, members of our Principals Partners Advocacy Group will show you a few important parts of our school community. Some of these parts or topics are Partners Pride,
Assemblies,
Zones Friends,
and be a partner.
Let's get started.
I'm Juliana.
I'm Brenner.
And I'm Harper, and we are talking about being a partner.
What is a partner? Partners is school mascot at Indian Landing. Being a partner is all about being respectful, responsible, safe, and kind.
To be respectful is to be an active listener and taking care of others.
To be responsible is to listen to teachers, follow directions, and try your best.
To be safe is to take care of your body and make smart choices, which you do.
To be kind is uplifting others and not doing anything rude or harmful.
Signs. We have signs around our school to tell us how to be partners in different parts of the school.
Some of these places are hallways, stairs, bathrooms, classrooms, and other parts of the school. The roadshow.
The roadshow takes place at the start of every school year. Each class goes around the school, and every place we visit, we review how to be a partner.
It is a very fun way to remember or learn how to be a partner around the IL.
The roadshow helps us all understand how to be a partner all day, every day, everywhere.
Hi, my name is Willie, and I am in 5th grade. At Indian Landing, we like to celebrate positive choices and being a partner with a special thing called Partners Pride tickets. Any adult can give you Partners Pride stickers for being respectful, responsible, safe, or kind.
Hi, I'm Esme, and I am also in 5th grade. When you are given a Partner's Pride sticker, you also receive a ticket. You put your first and last name on it and your grade. Then, there are 6 boxes outside the main hall with each grade level on them. Every Friday, tickets are pulled from each grade level box, and random students win prizes such as water bottle stickers, partner keychains, bracelets, dog tags, and more.
Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm also in 5th grade. During assemblies, we pull one ticket per grade level, and selected students get a special shirts. Then the rest of the tickets get put into one big box, and on that box there is a black line that marks our school-wide goal for a certain number of tickets. When we hit that line, our whole school earns a fun activity. For an example, we pied both Mrs. Ware and Mr. T in the face this year. Last year, we had a movie and popcorn day.
All students love being recognized for being a partner.
Hi, my name is Lottie LaRue and I'm in 4th grade. I will be talking about our school song. One of the best traditions at Indian Landing is our monthly assemblies. At our assemblies, our music teacher, Mr. Seaman, plays the piano while 550 students, kindergarten through 5th grade, sing while doing hand and body motions to go along with the words. Mrs. Ware always says that listening to us all sing makes her very happy.
Hi, I'm Gianna Tesoreiro, and I'm in 4th grade. At the beginning of the year, all students at Indian Landing could apply for a job. Some students have jobs that happen at each assembly. There are 4th and 5th graders who at the assembly do assembly, set up, and take down. These students go before and stay after assemblies to help our custodians set up chairs and then clean everything up. Other jobs at the assembly include ticket helper. This is when they collect all the tickets and put them in a big box. The guardians of the flag lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and school song leaders help Mr. Seaman lead our IO song.
Hi, my name is Maggie Wigmore, and I'm in 5th grade. The big highlight of our assemblies is called Partners Proud Moments. You heard how students have a chance to earn tickets and stickers for being responsible, respectful, safe, and kind. Partners Proud Moments celebrates kids who have extra special moments that stand out. This could be for reaching a goal, showing great improvement, or just doing something that was very kind and thoughtful.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wilkes, and I'm in 5th grade. Every month, a different group of adults gets to select the Partners Proud Moments. Sometimes it is classroom teachers, other times it is special area teachers like PE, art, music, and library. Our bus drivers and dismissal adults also get a month. Students who are recognized get a certificate and a special star pin, and their family is invited to come see them.
Hi, my name is Amelia, and I'm in 5th grade.
And I'm Christin from 4th grade.
The zones are different feelings we have, like being happy, sad, mad, or silly. And within those feelings, you may feel other feelings. For example, you might be mad, but within that, you might be frustrated.
Green zone Gary, blue zone Bobby, red zone Regina, and yellow zone Yvette are representatives of our different zones, and they have taught us ways to regulate if we are in a zone and having a strong emotion. At every assembly, the zone's friends present a short skit. This kit, it provides a lesson for kids to think about that is connected to the zones, how we feel. The zone friends have taught us that all the zones are okay. We just need to know what to do with our bodies to help feel regulated again.
This year, we have learned that our bodies give signals through our heart, our breathing, our energy, our movement, and our thinking. These signals can help us figure out what zones we are in and how we are feeling. There are also posters in the hallways that give regulation tools for when we are in a specific zone. For example, if you are in the red zone, try the tool count down when you count down from 10.
Learning about the zones has helped IL students learn how to take care of themselves and each other.
Hi, I'm Hazel, and I'm in 4th grade. We hope you enjoyed learning about Indian Landing and being a partner.
from our Partners Pride tickets to the roadshow lessons, and from our school song to the Zone Friends at assemblies. Being a partner is an important part of taking care of ourselves and our school community.
This is what makes Indian Landing a place we love to be.
So I should add that not every student wanted to be a part of the video. We also are entering the time where they really want to be outside at recess. So coming to the meetings, we allow them that choice. And so not every student, everyone helped go to classrooms and help create the scripts, but not everyone wanted to be on camera, which is okay. But they were really excited to create that for you. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. We're happy to take any.
Board members, questions or comments?
I just have a comment. As I was watching the video, I was just reflecting on just a great job you guys did with instilling the ownership of like the school with the students, making it, feel like it was also their space, like their responsibility to, I think, kind of model these things. But it just seemed like there was like almost like it's not just a place where we come where adults kind of tell us what to do, but it's a place where we come and we have say, and we have also like a responsibility to work with each other and to be kind to each other. But you could just see that in the video of just the environment that's been created, and I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you. We want to continue growing that. The student voice is a huge part of the school climate plan, and I appreciate those comments. I think we know from working with our staff and the kids, they will tell us they have more ideas of what they want us to do. So that's something we hope to continue growing. But the school climate plans have really helped drive that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Well done.
Thank you.
I just loved seeing all their little faces and, speaking their truths and not being, although everybody didn't want to be on camera. Like, I'm not a fan of being on camera either, so I get that. But it was really marvelous, and I felt like I was in the building with them doing the things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course I do. I just want to say thank you. I think not having students' presence at our board meetings has been one of our hardest things, because they are why we do what we do every single day. And thank you for still taking that time out of your very busy schedules to create this beautiful video of the kids, reminding us of exactly why we do what we do. So thank you for everything you do every day too.
And so I hate going after Kristen because she always says what I'm thinking. So I will just say ditto to what she said. Thank you for bringing this here. We do miss having the children, so this is the closest that we can get right now, so we'll take it. So thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us.
Thank you. We love to talk about Indian Landing, so thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much for coming. Thank you. And so I was so excited about us talking about children that I skipped over a couple of items on the agenda just to get to that part. So we're going to go back a little bit, and Dr. Roberts is going to bring us back to the agenda and approve a few things.
Yes, thank you so much. So can I please have a motion and a second that the board approves the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Board members, questions or comments? Put a hand up for.
Lynn asked us to raise our hands.
Okay. I didn't hear that part. It's okay. Questions or comments?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And may I please have a motion and a second that the treasurer's report, including the cash report, general fund cash report, the general fund revenue status report, general fund budget status report, school lunch fund cash report, and school lunch fund revenue and expense budget report for the month ending February 28th, 2025 be approved?
So moved.
Second.
Board members, questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? All in favor, none opposed?
Okay, we're going to go back to our special reports. We have a special education update from Maycanitza's office, and we'd like to invite up Jamie Naple, Mary Sapone, Jen Lerner, Laura Fitch, and Melissa Phelps. Please come on up.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for the invite. We're thrilled to share all the things that are going on in our department. First of all, I say that as a hard act to follow right after that video, because that is the true essence of why we're here, and to see the joy in the faces of all the students. That's what we're all here for. So that was beautiful to see. I want to do just a quick introduction of everyone on the team here, and then we'll talk about the continuum, what our programming is in district, as well as out of district options, and then each of the individuals up here will talk about their grade level band in their area and do some highlights. So first of all, I'm Jamie Naple. I'm the Director for Specialized Programming and Supports, and I'm rounding out, I'm almost 6 months, almost 6 months. And then next to me is Mary Sapone, and Mary Sapone is a Special Education Administrator, so SEA, and she works with students on early intervention, CPSE to CSE, and grades K through 1. And then over on the far end, the next level, is Jen Lerner. She is a Special Education Administrator, and she focuses on 2nd through 5th grade, out of district, parentally placed, homeschool. So we're pleased to have you guys here. Now we're gonna go into the secondary world. All right, so we have Laura Fitch over here to my right, and Laura Fitch is our Special Education Administrator at Bay Trail, so serving our middle school students. And last but not least, Melissa Phelps, who's also, how far are you rounding out? How long have you been here now? 9 months, all right, so she's relatively new as well. And she is our Special Education Administrator that works with our secondary high school folks, as well as does a little bit with transition into adulthood and post-school. Okay, I already introduced myself. So just to give you an idea of in terms of what the state, New York State Special Education Department, as well as federal, in terms of supports for students with disabilities. This goes from the top of the continuum, from least restrictive to more restrictive opportunities for our students with disabilities. So we do have some students that have related services only, which would be things such as speech language, physical therapy, OT, mobility services, nursing, vision, and counseling. There are many things that fall under related service only. We also, in the state, requires us to offer consultant teacher supports, and that's where a special education teacher would be tied to a specific student in supporting their needs to access learning in a general education setting. And that can be done in 2 ways: indirect support as well as direct support. And so the way an indirect support might look is taking a look at a student's individualized education plan, IEP, and really fine-tuning and saying, what are the accommodations and modifications or suggestions to help the student, level the playing field so that they have access to their learning. Consultant teacher direct supports would be that support embedded. The teacher would actually be in the classroom delivering specially designed instruction or helping support instruction, as well as co-teaching. Next on the continuum of more restrictive setting is the integrated co-teaching model. And what's interesting about this is it's considered a general education placement, but it has 2 teachers in the instructional space, bless you, which would be a general education teacher and special education teacher, co-teaching, breaking off into groups, leading the main lesson together, many various options of co-teaching in that environment throughout the day. Now below that, in terms of more restrictive support, is resource room. And this is where you would support a student on a specific goal or skill gap or deficit in a smaller setting. The size of the group can only be 5 students to 1 adult working on a similar skill and smaller group instruction. Then the next level down that we actually have in our district as well is our special classes. In our district, we have 1211 and 12131, which is our alt-assessed life skills classes. And then, of course, options for our students. We do have special classes and out-of-district placements, such as like Bird Morgan, O'Connor Academy, E-Star, various BOCES programming, Villa of Hope helps support us as well. And so there are options also too at Monroe 2 BOCES. So we do have various out-of-district placements. And then The most restrictive is residential or home instruction, which some of our students that are either having a medical, oh, why did that go off? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Students that would benefit from, being home for a short period of time, needing that additional support to then transition into school. So for example, if a student isn't quite ready or is apprehensive and they're receiving supports in a home environment or a community environment, and then we're transitioning them back into our district. So on this next slide, these are the programs, again, just to kind of give you a gist of where these all lie within our district. So every building within our district has related service options based on student need. All of our buildings have consultant teacher services, either direct or indirect. And then across the district, in terms of that small group instruction, we have resource room or specially designed reading instruction. And as you can see on the presentation, year 24-25, so our current year, you can see that Cobbles has our 1211 and our 1211 ICOT, second and fourth. And then you'll see right below that for 25-26, it just, the program follows the students, right? And then at Harris Hill, we have our 12-131, so those are our life skills classrooms. And what I just wanted to point out on this particular slide is that we have one additional classroom that will be going into our 12-131 continuum. So instead of 2 classrooms, there will be 3. The reason that we had to approach this is that we were already starting off next school year with over the amount of students in that space, and you cannot start off in the variance, as well as we really started to analyze and look at student need. And we'll be further working with Maycanitza and Erica in terms of what that will look like for next year. Okay. And then again at Bay Trail in the high school, a plethora of resources. We have resource room, inclusion co-taught, CT classrooms for core subjects, core content, 1211 in all our core subjects, as well as our 12-131. And the thing to point out about the 25-26 year for resource room, we were looking at adding an additional opportunity for resource. So we, the year prior, or this year, we have 2 out of the 5 days for resource room, or 3, but we saw a significant need in students and are offering 5 out of 5. Okay, here are our numbers. So currently, and this is to date, so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that starting off our school year at our K through 5, we had 204 students starting off as students with disabilities, and current to date, we have 219 at the K5. At 6-8, we started off with 129, and now we're up to 131. At 9-12, we started off with 174, and we're at 184, which some of these may be new entrants as well. And then for our out-of-district placements, 131, and now we're at 142. So you can see our total in-district total of students with disabilities is at 534. And off to the side, you can see our total enrollment. And then our grand total of students with disabilities, which includes our out-of-district students, is 697. So with our total enrollment number, that's our in-district number, adding the 142, so we have altogether 4,820 students that we're responsible for, and 142, as I said, are the ones that are out of district that are still our students.
Just a correction on that slide, 679 total.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Some of the things, so a little bit about myself and some of the things that coming in for the, for the 6 months, some of the things that I've been charged with and working on. Coming in November, we worked a lot around data and state reporting and making sure our numbers were accurate and looking in Frontline as well as Infinite Campus and where there were some discrepancies or information missing to then take it to level 0 and pass it on to state reporting. I've been fortunate to work with staffing and hiring as well as working on ESY planning and support. And then also in our my colleagues here will talk a little bit about some of the co-facilitation and PD that we've had opportunities for across the district. So we've done everything, and I do have a teacher out here that actually was part of one of those learning opportunities. So in January, we started to work with our staff. We had professional learning opportunities for K-2 together, 3-5, our Bay Trail special education teachers, as well as Melissa had worked with our high school teachers on transition. We've delivered professional learning for our TAs, our teacher aides and teacher assistants, and we did that in collaboration partnership with the URMC. And then again, I will have Melissa elaborate a little bit on the professional learning that happened on the release day or the half day in terms of transition and what that looked like. So here are some of the topics that we covered. So K-2, we talked about the continuum of supports and went through the state documentation Q&A on what that looks like for districts and co-teaching models. And we did this through a survey in terms of the topics, so that's why you'll see some of them are a little bit different. 3-5 really wanted to focus on co-teaching models and what that looks like in the classroom, as well as specially designed instruction. 6-8, we focused on goal writing and progress monitoring, or entering into the steps of progress monitoring. Our 12-1-1 K-5 did goal writing and specially designed instruction. And of course, our 12-1-3-1, they did a little bit of curriculum work as well as NYSA training for alt assessment, and that the students are engaging in currently. And then the high school, as I mentioned, is doing or had done transition PD. Here's just a little bit of the feedback that we got. I just took these quotes right off of the feedback sheet that are the feedback survey that we sent to all of our staff. And so some of the things, and I don't know if everyone can see it well out there, but you know, overall, I think our feedback was really good. Everybody talked about how it was thoughtfully planned out, how they enjoyed the day. They wanted more days like this. And then I also wanted to mention the second part of the day. So we did most of the heavy training and information and digesting the learning in the morning. And then the afternoon was left for the teachers to plan. So if it was the 12-1-1 staff, they were looking at their IEPs, looking at student needs, and really planning what that instruction should look like or could look like. And then our consultant teachers with their general education teacher partner had that second half of the day to plan as well. So that was great feedback. They really enjoyed that time together, knowing that it's really hard sometimes to get subs, you know, being a former building administrator, AP and principal, that can be tricky, but everybody embraced it and was really excited for the staff to be engaged in this. Before I pass it to Mary, another few PD opportunities that we have. We consistently have monthly SEA meetings, which we talk about the current programming and just questions that we have, as well as use that as training opportunities amongst ourselves. We also have department meetings that they'll talk a little bit about what those professional learning opportunities look like. And that's really great with the different, like we have the elementary cabinet, secondary cabinet. So if we have the regs or different things that we need to talk about, we're able to share that with building administrators and answer questions. Okay, I did a lot of talking. So now on to Mary Sapone.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary Sapone. Like Jamie said, I am the CPSE, which means Preschool Special Education, to CSE chairperson for grades pre-K to 1. And so just a couple of the things that I wanted to mention tonight that I feel like is important to my role here in Penfield is I find that I'm assisting families a lot with transition. When in early intervention, children are ages 0 to 3. So I'm typically helping families with that transition from early intervention services to preschool special education. And that carries just a difference in eligibility criteria, and then a few short years later, if the children still qualify for services, it carries another transition into kindergarten with yet another set of regulations. So I for eligibility. So I do find myself in and happily so, in a role of education to families about the special education process. That's really important to me, to share information about our continuum at the preschool level, because there is one at the preschool level, then obviously at the school age level in Penfield as well. So I feel like a lot of my time is really spent educating families on the couple of sets of transitions that sometimes they go through. Like I said, I assist families with understanding the special education criteria at preschool and school age levels. And one of the things that I'm really proud of is that over the years of being in Penfield, and I'm in my 10th year, I've developed a process for transitioning students into kindergarten, or at least preparing families for that transition into kindergarten from preschool. And that involves meeting with each family individually in the fall before they even go to kindergarten, so a year in advance, going to observe the students at wherever they are. It might be UPK programs, it might be preschool special education programs or child care centers, and then involving elementary school personnel in other sets of observations that I complete over the course of the school year. It's a really important transition into kindergarten. It's a really serious one, and I take it very seriously, and that's why I talk and spend a lot of time with families about what to expect, because the last thing that I want, and this is what I tell every family, is for them not to expect or to have something happen that they didn't expect or they didn't know what was going to happen. So I really do my best over this school year to prepare them for that. Sometimes I even joke with them that I'm going to talk so much about kindergarten the year before it that they're going to beg me to stop, because I love it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. The second couple, or just another couple things that Jen will go into a little bit more detail, but Jen and I co-facilitate professional development for elementary school staff and special education. So Jen will go into a little bit more detail about some of the topics that we've covered over the course of the school year. And then Jamie so nicely put in that I also oversee the universal pre-K program in the district. We are very lucky to be going into our 4th school year in the 25-26 school year for UPK. Excited about planning for that, currently in our open enrollment process, as everybody probably knows, and love that we're incorporating a new local CBO site, or community-based organization site, called Child Time. It's been a goal of mine to try to get as many sites as close to our Penfield community as possible, and then obviously the new site of having a location here at Penfield High School. So a lot of exciting things that happen in the younger students areas. But Jen, I'll turn it over to you. Do you want the microphone?
You know, I'm just gonna lean
You're just gonna no.
on top of you, Mary.
Go ahead.
Mary and I are a comedy act. Sorry, I'm Jen Lerner. I'm one of the special education administrators here, and I am grades 2 through 5 in the district, parentally placed non-resident, so places like Mercy and private schools, St. Joe's, Finney, and then all of the out-of-district students once they're placed all the way till age 22. I work with the students and the families. Some of the things that Mary and I do collaboratively, because we're both working in elementary, we co-facilitate a lot of presentations, trying to work with the elementary school teachers to make sure that they are really knowledgeable about what they're teaching. So some of those things that we started faculty meetings with all elementary, with all staff, working on MTSS and pre-referral interventions and what those should look like, and all of the steps in the RTI process. We've also done some trainings on quality IEP writing, specially designed instruction, goal writing. We've also done some management needs sections and some tier 1, 2, and 3. We've taught them how to track data. And then myself, I also do that same training with Finney, Mercy, and St. Joe's, so they know what to expect when they're at a CSE meeting and what we're looking for pre-referral. So I really love working with all of those different areas, and I love co-facilitating with Mary. We're able to bounce really great ideas off each other, and working with Jamie, facilitating those co-teaching presentations together has been really valuable. So I also wanted to share that We do a yearly refresher, and then I work with working with APs on questions when they have questions about documents or what to do in a difficult situation. But I really view, much like Mary does, my role in supporting families and making sure that all students have what they need and they're really, really clear about the process and what we should be doing for them as a district. It's been a great opportunity to work in elementary school. I help with the 504 referral process as well, so I do all of the initial 504s in elementary. Help families with community agency support, which becomes really important when students are exiting from school-age service to adult service. And I would say that is about it, but it is a great role and a great team, so thank you for letting us share a little bit about what we do.
Hi everyone, Laura Fitch. I am the Special Education Administrator at Bay Trail, so for grades 6 through 8. And then I also support with the 5-Go-6 transitions and the 8-Go-9 transitions. Mary mentioned the theme of transitions with her updates that she shared, and I will say that at Bay Trail, transition is a big theme in my role as well. So just to kind of capture again, our continuum of service reflects consultant teacher services, both direct and indirect, and integrated co-taught, resource room, special class setting in 12-1-1, and special class setting in the 12-1-3-1 or the life skills education program. I am typically, for our families with students who receive special education services, I'm the first face that they meet when they start to talk about that transition over to Bay Trail. And I'm typically the last face that they see as they transition over to the high school from Bay Trail. So I try my best to focus on creating a warm and welcoming environment for them as they transition over and away from us, and really make sure that parents understand the shift from elementary special education programming to secondary special education programming and feel comfortable and confident as their students transition from having a smaller teaching team to a much larger teaching team and all the parts and pieces that go with that. I chair the CSE and 504 initial eligibility meetings, program reviews, reevaluations, and annual review meetings. And then I just really wanted to share some things that I'm super proud of about working at Bay Trail. We do a lot to make sure that our students feel welcomed and included, particularly our students with disabilities, through our Best Buddies and Bean Buddies program, which is our Best Buddies Club facilitates Bean Buddies, which is an opportunity for our 12-1-3-1 students to gain some daily living skills and life skills practice by selling coffee and refreshments to the staff, and our Best Buddies partner up with them to help facilitate that. It's been a really awesome experience for all of our students, and they start to understand, their role within the vocational programming, which has been an awesome introduction for them into that programming as they consider those next steps moving into high school. At Bay Trail, we have community building days, so those happen 1 to 2 times per month, and that for our special education students has been an incredibly welcoming and affirming opportunity for kiddos who may be in a special class setting for a majority of their day to have an additional inclusive opportunity where they're working with their grade level peers who they may not interact with as frequently, making sure that they feel that they have those strong connections across their school community. And then also an opportunity for all students to partner and learn from each other and just celebrate the uniqueness that everybody brings to our Bay Trail community. And then the last highlight that I really want to celebrate is the STARS trip. So our 8th graders, a majority of them attend the Washington, D.C. trip at the end of this month. However, there are students who, based on either their ability or their health or just general needs, are unable to attend that trip, but we want them to have the experience of being able to travel, being able to learn about their community, government, all of those pieces. And so the STARS trip, or students touring around Rochester, provides them that opportunity if they're unable to attend the Washington, D.C. trip, to make sure that they have that experience as well before they graduate Bay Trail. And then, like everyone else has shared, the co-development and presentation of professional learning has really been incredibly beneficial to our middle school department. We had our 12-1-1 release day that Jamie spoke about, which was very beneficial. Goal writing is a huge piece of understanding Bay Trail special education systems because of that transition from elementary, where you're still gaining those learning skills, those foundational skills as a learner, and now you're transferring those to apply across the content areas. So we really hone in on writing goals that can do the best of both worlds. They can still build up those foundational learning skills, but they're also being able to apply them in those content level classes, especially as they start to think about applying them in Regents level classes, in vocational training, all of those pieces. So I talked a lot and I talked really fast, but thank you.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Phelps. I'm the special education administrator at the high school. And as we said earlier, I started at the end of August, so I think that's 9 months that I'm coming into the position. I'm going to build on what everyone else has already said and add some more highlights for the high school. We talked about all of the programs on the continuum that we have. We have them all there at the high school. I really wanted to really point out our integrated co-teaching program at the high school. We have it in grades 9, 10, and 11. It is not in grade 12 because at that point we are working to really build the level of independence, and we offer fewer of them in 11th grade as well. So as students are transitioning to 11th and 12th grade, we're looking at supports changing to either consultant teacher and or resource room to really support the needs that the students have as they are approaching graduation. And then we have our 12-1-3-1 class, which has 7 students in it. Next year, we're looking at a class of potentially 14 students. So quite a few students are coming up from the middle school into 9th grade next year, and we have 1 student that's returning from an out-of-district program that we're really proud to celebrate that transition as well. So here is the 12-1-3-1 classroom. At the high school, we call it the LCE room, which stands for Life-Centered Education. Our goal is to help our students work towards a skills and achievement credential. So these are students who have been identified with severe cognitive and intellectual disabilities that are working towards a credential instead of a diploma when they graduate. So our job in that room is to really look at what do they need to be as independent as possible when they leave our high school. So we do a lot of activities of daily living, a lot of executive functioning. There's community-based instruction. Mrs. Bush, the classroom teacher, takes them out several times a month to various field trips around the community, but one that they do every month is a trip to Wegmans. And they plan prior to going to Wegmans with a budget, what they're going to be making, what does that look like that we need to purchase, where in the aisle are we gonna find those items? So they go through, they do all of that planning before they even leave the building. So some really wonderful things that are happening, and you can see this picture here. They do a lot of cooking. And there's an oven, a refrigerator in the classroom. So this past week for Cinco de Mayo, they were cooking tacos, trying to, incorporating all of the cultural pieces into their education as well. And there's also a social emotional learning component. Our school psychologist and a counselor push into the classroom every week and do skill building activities. I wanted to highlight something that I think is really special that's happening at the high school, and that's unified sports. So we, every other year, have a unified PE classroom, which is a mixture of our general education and our special education students. That just happens to be this year. But then we also have some sporting events that happen outside of the school day, which is unified basketball and our bowling teams. And if you have an opportunity, unified basketball is happening right now on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think there's one week where it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. The games are at 5 o'clock, and it's an incredible opportunity to see sportsmanship like you've never seen before, and just really supporting each other to have fun and participate. Just the inclusion here is just incredible. So again, the theme has been transition, but when we look at high school, it's really transitioning for life after high school. So in 9th grade, we do start, and actually in 8th grade, we start the conversation. There's a part on the IEP that opens up, that's the measurable post-secondary goals, and then the coordinated set of transition needs. So our counselors at the high school do that age-appropriate transition assessment with our students. and then it is put into the IEP. And that helps guide us. I always tell students, you might be 14 years old and you've got several years before you graduate, but this gives us an idea of what you might be thinking of and how we can support you. So we have that piece. We have a transition specialist that Jamie mentioned earlier, Krista Housechild. She is a BOCES employee who works 3 days a week with us. And her office is right near mine. And she and I do a lot of discussions on how are we supporting our students and their families as well. So you'll notice I have on here, I have Access VR, I have OPWDD. Those are government agencies. Access VR is part of the State Education Department, and it's a vocational rehabilitation that is available to students with disabilities after they graduate. But we connect the families with that agency prior to graduation so they have what they need when they graduate. Not every family chooses to take part in this. Not every child has the need that they would be supporting, but we have that opportunity for them. We also work with Heritage Christian Services and Autism Up. Those are organizations that tend to work with some of our younger students, grades 9 and 10. Access VR is really more 11 and 12. OPWDD can come in as young as school age, as 5, depending on the student's developmental disability. We also have students that attend EMCC, working towards their CTLE hours, and potentially a CDOS support credential on their diploma. And then we have the transition programs for our students with severe disabilities, ages 18 through 22, and currently we're using BOCES for that program. And that 18, it used to be 18 through 21, but the state changed it within the last 2 years to 18 to 22. Oh. Went on to the next report. Do you have any questions for the high school?
Board members.
Or any of us?
Yeah, questions or comments? I have one. So with the various, like having the the expanded continuation of the special education programs within the buildings, are you finding that kids are now actually more fluid in transitioning from a more restrictive environment to a less restrictive environment?
A lot of head nods.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Like, who wants to answer?
Yeah. I would say yes. We're going. It's much easier to
microphone.
I'm sorry. It's much easier to move towards least restrictive, right? We have a lot more opportunities for integration, and with ICOT and things like that, it's less likely that we would go more restrictive. So I've found it to be much more cohesive to do it this way. Would you say?
Great. And I think the planning that we have the ability to do and the cohesiveness across the district-wide, looking at that, that 30,000 foot view of what our special education continuum looks like. You and I do a lot of talking together, the secondary piece. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I think having all of us working together has been a big piece of that as well.
And board members, I'd like to remind you that in 2023, when we expanded our continuum for special education, particularly with our integrated co-teaching program, the goal behind that was to provide more access to our students and having those opportunities for them. And you may have heard Jamie reference, it starts first as a general education setting, and then we look at how we can provide the supports and the services to our students that require them. So I do feel that all of the ways in which we can have multiple places for our students to be able to access learning has been extremely beneficial.
It allows us to just be subject specific, right? So if you just need help in math in a smaller setting, you can be in a CT or an ICOT ELA or social studies. So it really is expanded it for the kids.
And also probably made the transition easier for the kids where they're not having to leave a building.
Yeah. And I wanted to also mention too, around the idea that some students, like for example, over at Harris Hill, they're really looking at our 12-131 students and where they can be integrated into general education opportunities, whether it be specials or a content area they would thrive in. And then one other thing that I wanted to mention, and Jen, you specifically, we have a student that will be joining joining us for summer ESY from a more restrictive placement. Typically, in years past, we haven't had mental health counseling on an IEP that shows regression to support a student. But because of the significant transition back into our district, we want to make sure it's smooth and goes well, and that this child will be supported in the fall.
Thank you.
Actually, I have one comment and two questions. So the comment is, thank you so much. I have always felt like kids in special ed are the most vulnerable, and your jobs are really important. So it's really important for us to invest in excellent people who can invest in these vulnerable students. So thank you. First, I'll just ask my two questions together. One is, I know you probably don't know numbers off the top of your head, but an approximate percentage of kids who might start out in 1211 in elementary school who successfully transition to gen ed. So that's the first question. And then secondly, I don't know if this is true at Penfield, but I know that nationally, children of color are disproportionately placed in special ed. And so I'm wondering what you have in place, what safeguards you have in place to check for that if you monitor those kinds of demographics, and what safeguards you have in place to check for potential biases in placement.
Great question. Well, that is a great question in terms of the data. So that is something we definitely have started looking at. I brought my little chart up of, numbers and information. So certainly we could get back to you with those numbers in terms of the percentage of students that successfully go from a more restrictive placement into a general education supported classroom or less restrictive. And yeah, I think our work in general, and I would like to I'd be remiss if I didn't say and like to add in the work that we do in ILT in terms of looking at implicit bias and our biases. And right now, our lens is really looking at the students, their needs that are in front of us, and how it's significantly impacting their access to learning or social opportunities. And so we're charged with providing those supports or making those recommendations. But certainly as the district moves forward, looking at equitable opportunities for all our students, and specifically our team of students with disabilities, really pulling in and looking at the demographics. So I do know that we do have a platform now, the social emotional platform that is led and working with Scott Dreschler on that. And there are different pull down menus where you can look at student need and see where their demographics are, or how they identify. It's definitely an area of growth for us, and to continue looking at that. But certainly something that we would move forward with as the district. We're looking at all students, not just students with disabilities, and really analyzing that and how we can do things better for all kids.
Yeah. I would just add to that, I think our district-wide MTSS processes have really supported with addressing the over-identification concerns. I think we utilize the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 intervention strategies. We look at not just academic needs that can be supported through the general education process, and I should say MTSS is multi-tiered systems of support, let me clarify. So that's really our internal general education building level processes that look at how can we support students with general education academic supports, general education behavioral supports, general education attendance supports, social emotional supports. So really exhausting all of the wonderful resources that we have available to us before we consider that recommendation for either a Section 504 or a CSE referral.
I have a question. Can you just quickly try to explain the MTSS process for us? Like, is that individualized or is it broad so all students would get the same thing?
Actually, can I have MTSS extraordinary Marcy Ware come and talk to us? Because she has it down in her building, and she certainly is a role model for the MTSS process. I'm sorry,
She's like,
Marcy,
thank you for putting me on the
we're putting
spot.
you on the spot.
No, this chair.
Right in there. So as Laura said, MTSS stands for multi-tiered systems of support. It's always existed, but it's been called. I've worked in education for close to 30 years. I think when I started off, it was child study team. Then in some schools, it was called, when I first came to Penfield, it was IST, instructional study team. But MTSS really is the most comprehensive view, where those other things really focused on academic needs. MTSS looks at everything. So attendance, social emotional, behavior, academics. Penfield really was doing a lot of MTSS stuff before MTSS was even a buzzword, with our pyramid model of intervention for RTI. Our response to intervention is a key component of MTSS. So as long as I've been here, close to 10 years, we've had that pyramid model where we have what we call our win block at the elementary level, what I need, or an RTI time, where we use data to look at where students might need support. So maybe they need additional support in literacy or math, or maybe they need enrichment. So we have that block within the K-5 schedule where students get the intervention they need, whether it's enrichment or extra support, or staying in with their classroom teacher for tier 1 or tier 2 supports to address their need based upon the data. So we have that data review cycle. It's roughly every 6 to 8 weeks for ELA and math. And then we use the panorama data to look at SEL needs. Right now we give panorama twice a year, so those are a little less frequent. We have attendance teams that meet to review MTSS data, as well as looking at behavioral data. So that's that tier 1 MTSS that happens for everyone. So when I explain to parents, that's what we do for all kids all the time. And that includes special ed kids. So if they need reading support, they are still getting reading support, typically on top of whatever they have on their IEP. So that's the tier 1 MTSS that we just do for everyone. And then each building has a building-based MTSS team. And the tier 2 and tier 3 support comes if they make a referral for a specific student. So maybe if someone's been receiving reading support for 2 or 3 data cycles, they're not making improvement or the rate of improvement that we would expect, they might be referred to the MTSS team. Or if a teacher, if there's behavior issue, just something that's really impacting those persistent behaviors. The teachers tried everything that Laura talked about, and they need a different group to come together. So the building-based MTSS teams, pretty similar at the elementary. I can't speak to the middle school or high school, but it's the principal, school psychologist, social worker, school counselor. Those people are there for all students. And then if a student's referred and they're receiving speech improvement, a speech language pathologist might come, a literacy specialist might come, the classroom teacher. So half the team is for everyone, and the other half of the team is personalized to that student. We set goals, and we meet every 5 to 7 weeks to check in on those goals, to track those goals. And some kids improve, and then they're exited from MTSS. Some kids, they need additional supports, and we'll make a referral to the Committee on Special Education, where they look at the data we have. But our job, I feel like it's really important, our job is to collect that evidence and try to see what's happening with those interventions. Are they working, aren't they working, before that referral to special education? And then if we've done a good job, all that data we've collected helps inform a decision. And if a child needs an IEP, it helps inform what types of support they might need.
And so when you think about that tiered pyramid, it's 80% of our students we would normally find in that tier 1. About 15% of our students are at tier 2 and 5% at tier 3. So when you think about exhausting all of our resources and having our students receive interventions and they're still not making the progress that we'd like to see them make, then we would have additional conversations aside from our multi-tiered systems of support process.
And then I have to just, they're not here, but Kim Gebhardt and Sheena Conway, our Director of STEAM and Director of Humanities, they every year, every summer spend time working with teacher teams and principals, but refining the district's criteria based upon the assessments that we use. Some are nationally normed assessments, some are unit assessments or more locally based assessments, but they create a criteria that helps us so that we are consistent from building to building, so that a student who qualifies for tier 3 at Scribner is the same as a student who qualifies for tier 3 at Indian Landing. That's a huge part of what we do for that tier 1, determining who needs additional support.
Okay. Get a gold star. Okay.
I love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. And it's so nice to be able to celebrate all of the wonderful things that we're doing in partnership on behalf of all of our students and families. So thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, I told you we were going to have a really long meeting tonight. I hope you can just hang in there with us. We have a few more things to do tonight. We've got superintendent's reports. There are so many wonderful things that are happening in our district, and I'm excited to highlight some of our students and staff. District updates, just two. Educational services, we'll have Maycanitza Perez talk a little bit from her office, and then there will be a human resources update. And so winter, all Greater Rochester teams, we want to congratulate 26 of our Penfield High School athletes who were named to the all Greater Rochester teams for the winter season. Special congratulations to Zane on being named Wrestler of the Year. All Eastern Music Festival, congratulations to the Penfield High School students who were selected to perform at the prestigious National Association for Music Education, All Eastern Festival. Allison, Nico, and Alyssa. Skills USA competition. Congratulations to the following Penfield High School EMCC students who recently won awards at the State Skills USA competition. Deasia Andrews, Job Interviews, 2nd place, and Charles Brizendine, Team Works, 3rd place. Scholarship winner, congratulations to Penfield High School senior Aaliyah on being named the winner of a $500 Section 5 2024-25 Winter Season Scholarship. Library Conference presentation. Congratulations to the Scribner librarian, Emily Williamson, and library clerk, Aaron Roth, on being selected to present at the School Librarians for New York Library Association Conference this past weekend. Congratulations. Penfield Education Foundation 5K. Thank you to everyone who participated in the annual 5K fundraiser for the Penfield Education Foundation. The highest participation award went to Penfield High School, followed closely by Bay Trail. Teacher Appreciation Week. Penfield has the best of the best, and we want to thank our amazing teachers for educating, supporting, and guiding our students to their fullest potential every day. We appreciate you today and every day. School Nurse Appreciation. Thank you to our outstanding school nurses for all you do to care for and nurture our students every day. We couldn't do it without you. And I'd also like to share a special thanks to our nurse coordinator, Sue Simbel. Because of her advocacy and special attention, our school district functions so well under her care in support of our school nurses. Okay, it looks like, let's see here, did that photo jump? Okay, School Lunch Hero Day. And I'm not sure what happened to the photo because it was there earlier. But thank you to our amazing food service team for all they do to provide healthy meals for our students. You are our heroes. Community Champion for Education. Congratulations to the Quigley family, owners of Quigley's Cafe and Smoothies Plus Ice Cream, for being named this year's Penfield Central School District Community Champion for Education. We appreciate your endless support for our students and staff. And lastly, Project Lead the Way recognition. Congratulations to Penfield High School on being named a Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School. Penfield High School is one of a select group of high schools across the United States to be recognized for its commitment to inspiring and engaging students to unlock their potential through Project Lead the Way. 2 quick updates. I would like to invite you to join us for a budget information night, which will be hosted next Tuesday, May 13th, in the Penfield High School Commons from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. And we also have our coffee conversation that's scheduled for Thursday, May 15th, also in the Penfield High School Commons. We're asking you to join us for our spring coffee conversation where we will be connecting and listening with our community. You can register and RSVP via this QR code or through Parent Square and the invitation that was sent to all of our district residents via a postcard. And now I'll turn it over to Maycanitza Perez so that she can share updates from her office.
Good evening, buenas noches. So this night I will provide you updates from the athletics department and safety and security. This is a timeline that was shared by us, by the athletic director, Mary Beth Walker. And so as part of our discussion, we wanted to know the background, and I will walk you through the background as she presented it to us. So pre-COVID, that was through March 2020, we had a hall monitor that supported athletics working from 11 in the morning to 8 p.m. Post-COVID, 2021 to the present, we had a hall monitor position that did not return to athletics after COVID. Since 2021, the athletics director has requested the return of athletics hall monitor. Staffing shortages have made it impossible to flex existing hours. There have been requests to the superintendent, district office, human resources for the past 4 years, and although the jobs were posted, they were never filled. Job postings included after-school hall monitor to patrol hallways and outdoor areas, and after-school security personnel that basically was to be equipped with a vehicle to patrol the campus, including monitoring unauthorized access to the stadium during evening hours. So a security proposal was submitted to the district in 2023. As you know, we appreciate, Mary Beth's solutions-based approach as she provided us with recommendations to consider to support the safety and security of our athletic events throughout our district. Wanted to provide you with bulleted points in terms of the recommendations. So one of the recommendations was the campus security assessment, and this was to engage a security firm to evaluate vulnerabilities at Bay Trail and the high school campuses and develop an evacuation plan. Another recommendation was the after-school security presence by contracting a security firm to patrol the high school campus after school hours, preferably with a mobile presence. Another recommendation was supervisor training, and this entails providing event management training for athletic supervisors through a security firm. And another recommendation was evening contest support, scheduling a security team member or Monroe County Sheriffs to be present at identified evening events to monitor crowds and respond to incidents. So as a result of all the information that Mary Beth Walker, our athletics director, has shared with us, we have created an action plan. We've had several meetings, and one of those meetings included myself, the Office of Educational Services, Safety and Security, Dr. Potter, Dr. Driffill, and Dr. Kenny, meeting to communicate and establish a support plan for athletic director Mary Beth Walker to ensure her well-being and address safety and security needs during after-school hours and athletic events. So in collaboration with our safety and security coordinator, Mr. Ted Wilson, we have partnered with Black Hawk to support security needs at our after-school and athletic events. For instance, this past Friday, there were several events, including 17 teams for the track meet, and this past Saturday, Black Hawk worked the Strike Out Cancer Games. As we continue to address the safety and security needs of our district, we look forward to hiring 2 safety security workers who will be under the supervision of our safety and security coordinator, Mr. Ted Wilson. On more celebratory note, I wanted to congratulate our CO Biliteracy recipients. So I'm not sure how much you know about the CO Biliteracy, but we are very fortunate that New York State CO Biliteracy is an award given to high school students who have demonstrated a high level of proficiency in English and or one or more other world languages by the time they graduate. The purpose of the CO Biliteracy is to recognize students who have achieved biliteracy, promote the study of languages, and provide employers and universities with a method to identify the individuals with language skills. So, students, by the time they graduate, on their diploma, they'll receive a CO Biliteracy seal that basically, gives them that honor of being a bilingual student or a trilingual student in many cases. And currently we have 42 seniors and 8 juniors that will be receiving an honor at the end of the month. So we will celebrate their accomplishment at the end of the month. I also have the pleasure to congratulate Gabriel Reyes. Felicidades to Gabriel for obtaining the We Soar Scholarship awarded to high school seniors for pursuing a career in bilingual education. So this is dear to me because I am one of the regional directors for the NYSALAS, which is the New York State Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents. So he will be awarded $1,000. And he was the only student in our region in Rochester to receive this honor. And I will be going to Yonkers this weekend to provide, representation from Rochester, and I will bring back his award and provide him with the award and his parents at a later date.
So as you've noticed, Dr. Kenny isn't here tonight. So I have the pleasure of welcoming Miss LaShara Evans as our district's new Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. So I've got to put my readers on, and I'll ask her to please stand up. LaShara Evans is an educational leader with 19 years of experience advancing people-centered systems in education. LaShara began her career as a classroom teacher and steadily advanced through leadership roles, including principal of French Road Elementary and Brighton Central School District and Flower City School Number 54 in Rochester, as well as an adjunct professor. LaShara's leadership philosophy is grounded in collaboration and accountability. She has extensive experience in school improvement and educator development, which will inform her approach to human resource leadership. Whether facilitating collective bargaining, designing onboarding systems, or cultivating recruitment pipelines, she is focused on building environments where every employee is respected, supported, and empowered to grow. As the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, LaShara is driven by a simple but powerful vision. When adults are supported and inspired, students thrive. Let's give her a round of applause as we welcome her warmly. And I also want to add that her team is here tonight, and they also wanted to welcome her warmly. We have from your team, Lori Colby, Rianne Wilson, and Michelle Tallarico. And there were 3 superintendents that wanted to share with our community the impact that LaShara made in the communities in which they led. And I'd like to read those quotes to you. Miss Evans is a natural leader with exceptional communication skills and a deep understanding of how to drive systems-level change. She brings clarity to complex issues, ensures alignment across diverse teams, and never loses sight of our goal, improving outcomes for students. Her integrity, professionalism, and unwavering dedication to public education make her a standout leader in any setting. LaShara Evans is a kind, thoughtful, engaged, and committed school leader. When working as the principal of French Road Elementary School, she demonstrated an unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students. She was passionate about the work and collaborating with families and staff to ensure equitable practices, which lead to successful outcomes for all students. And lastly, LaShara Evans embodies what it means to serve with integrity. Her loyalty never wavers, and her insight into educational leadership decisions consistently moves our district forward. She is deeply committed to the success of every student and educator in our system. And I am so excited to welcome LaShara and witness all of the things that you were able to accomplish in your other districts, that you'll do those and demonstrate that here in the Penfield Central School District. Thank you for joining us. And so now I'll turn it back over to the board for discussion.
Board members, questions or comments?
No. Not a one. Great job, everyone.
Thank you all for coming.
One more organizational item.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's been long, yes. Can I please have a motion and a second that the board approves the Penfield High School's attendance keeper?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Public comment, we have none. So we will go to 11A, change orders. May I please have a motion and a second that the change orders as described on your computer be approved?
So moved.
Second.
Board members, questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? All in favor, none opposed? Policies for first read. We have 2 policies for first read. Dr. Potter, would you like to read those?
We have 2 policies that we're presenting to the community for first read. Under Maycanitza's office, Marine Mustafa George has led our district as part of a stakeholder process in the development of 2 policies. They are titled Educational Excellence and Student-Centered Curriculum. This is our first read for today, and then we'll have our second read later this month, and moving towards approving these policies after the rounds for both.
Thank you. Okay, board members, if you look, you can see on the screen under 13A, it's the 2025-26 Board of Education schedule of meetings. May I have a motion and a second that the 2025-26 Board of Education meeting schedule be approved as listed?
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? All in favor, none opposed? And we don't have any Monroe County School Board meetings, okay. So it's health and safety?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend
Okay.
that meeting. This is the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was on
Dan
it
and I
last
were
year.
there. Dan's going to speak to it quickly.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep, so the committee, it was the last committee meeting of the year. We reviewed the first draft for the district-wide safety plan and just some of the changes that we've made in terms of security protocols and processes within the district. George English facilitates those meetings. He reviewed a capital project update relative to phase 1, 2, and 3, now that phase 3 has been bidded. I don't know, am I missing any pertinent updates? No.
I think you said safety security. We talked about safety
Yep.
security. Yep. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it says no unfinished business. Any new business? Awesome. May I have a motion and a second that the meeting be adjourned at 8:55 p.m.?
So moved. Second.
You said that very fast. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
I was trying to continue.
All in favor, none opposed?